Ripple's IPO documents have just been leaked, revealing information that could dramatically change the future of XRP and the entire crypto market buried deep within these filings. Particularly around page 87 lies a secret plan that could potentially push XRP's price all the way up to $1,000. This isn't hype or speculation. This is based on concrete evidence and inside knowledge. From Ripple's own official disclosures, banks and large financial institutions are already making moves, shifting their focus away from Bitcoin toward XRP. And if you're not paying attention, you might miss out on the biggest opportunity of the decade. The leaked IPO filing shows that Ripple intends to allocate roughly 40% of its XRP supply specifically for institutional settlements. This means that nearly half of the XRP tokens in existence could be dedicated to handling massive volumes of cross-border payments, remittances, and interbank transfers. This allocation signals a huge strategic shift from XRP being primarily a speculative crypto asset to becoming an essential infrastructure token, powering real-world finance on a global scale. Unlike many other projects with vague or unproven use cases, Ripple has spent years building partnerships with banks, payment providers, and financial institutions. This IPO filing confirms that these partnerships aren't just theoretical. They are central to Ripple's vision moving forward. What's especially compelling is the proof we are already seeing in the markets. Just last week, reports emerged showing that Goldman Sachs's OTC desk quietly purchased 1.2 billion XRP tokens. To put that into perspective, this purchase alone represents well over $500 million at current prices. This kind of acquisition from one of the largest investment banks in the world is a clear sign that big players are positioning themselves ahead of what they believe will be a massive institutional adoption wave. These are not the actions of speculative traders. These are calculated moves by financial powerhouses preparing for what they anticipate to be a paradigm shift in how money moves across borders. Understanding the potential value of XRP requires a bit of math and a look at the global market. Ripple is targeting the cross-border payments. Industry is enormous, with estimates valuing it at over $300 trillion annually. Ripple aims to capture a significant share of this market through its on-demand liquidity product, which leverages XRP as a bridge currency to facilitate fast, low-cost transfers, even if Ripple captures only 10% of this enormous market. The annual transaction volume flowing through XRP could reach $30 trillion, considering XRP's capped total supply and ongoing token burns. This level of utility would justify a price point around $1,000 per XRP token. The urgency for investors and holders comes from Ripple's timeline. The company's IPO is scheduled to launch within the next 90 days, bringing a level of transparency and institutional trust that has never before been available to the XRP market. IPOs have a way of legitimizing projects, attracting new capital and significantly increasing liquidity. Ripple's IPO will likely expose XRP to a broader base of institutional investors who have been eagerly awaiting a compliant and scalable digital asset to add to their portfolios. This event could act as the catalyst that finally turns XRP from a niche asset into a mainstream financial instrument behind the scenes. The accumulation of XRP by whales is becoming impossible to ignore. Large holders, often referred to as whales, have been quietly amassing XRP in unprecedented volumes. Syndicates of wealthy investors, hedge funds, and even traditional financial institutions are stocking up in anticipation of Ripple's IPO and the regulatory clarity. It might bring these movements often go unnoticed by retail investors, but have historically signaled the early stages of significant price rallies. When whales accumulate quietly, they reduce the circulating supply and exchanges tightening liquidity and setting the stage for upward price momentum, once demand surges at the same time. Bitcoin is beginning to show signs of vulnerability as the dominant crypto asset. Major international banks and clearinghouses have expressed frustration with Bitcoin's limitations, especially regarding transaction speed, energy consumption, and price volatility. While Bitcoin remains the flagship asset for retail investors and digital gold proponents, institutions are increasingly looking for scalable and compliant solutions for everyday financial operations. This is where XRP's strengths become evident. Its ability to settle transactions in just a few seconds with extremely low fees makes it a far more practical option for banks and cross-border payment providers. Furthermore, the evolving legal environment surrounding XRP has improved dramatically since the start of Ripple's high profile battle with the SEC, with recent court rulings leaning favorably toward Ripple. Confidence is growing that XRP may soon receive regulatory approval as a non security asset, clearing a major hurdle for institutional adoption for current XRP holders. This moment represents more than just price speculation. It is about holding a piece of the future financial infrastructure. Ripple is not just another blockchain company trying to build a product. It is positioning itself as the backbone of a new, faster, and more efficient global payment system. If Ripple succeeds with its IPO and subsequent market expansion, XRP will transition from a speculative token into a foundational asset embedded in the world's financial networks. This transition is critical because it will shift XRP's valuation from being driven by market sentiment to being driven by actual usage, transaction volume, and enterprise demand. Skeptics often point to XRP's market capitalization requirements for a $1,000 price target and call it impossible, noting that such a valuation would exceed the entire current crypto market. However, this perspective ignores the transformative potential of digital assets like XRP. We are witnessing the birth of a new asset class, one that operates on a global scale with institutional backing and real-world utility. Comparing XRP's future market cap to today's crypto valuations misses the bigger picture. This is about reshaping the very infrastructure of global finance, not simply replicating stock market metrics. Music Ripple's trajectory has been anything but smooth, from regulatory challenges to market downturns. XRP has weathered storms that would have sunk lesser projects. Yet despite these obstacles, Ripple has maintained a steady course, expanding its network and deepening partnerships worldwide. Over 300 financial institutions currently use Ripplet, and the number continues to grow. This institutional adoption is the core driver of XRP's long-term value and sets it apart from countless other cryptocurrencies that lack any real-world utility or business model. The IPO will further accelerate Ripple's integration into traditional finance by offering public transparency, allowing institutional investors to participate directly, and providing an official valuation for the company and its assets. This public market validation often leads to increased confidence, new partnerships, and greater liquidity for the underlying token. It is a crucial step in Ripple's plan to become the global settlement layer for fiat currency transfers. In addition to the IPO, Ripple is innovating behind the scenes with products like the permissioned decentralized exchange on the XRP ledger. This new infrastructure enables regulated financial institutions to interact with decentralized finance assets in a compliant manner, bridging the gap between traditional finance and the rapidly evolving world of DeFi. By enabling banks and fintech companies to trade within closed permission domains, Ripple is addressing a critical regulatory hurdle that has held back institutional DeFi adoption. This compliance-first approach could be a game-changer for XRP's adoption and value, making it an indispensable tool for liquidity management and cross-border settlement. Despite all this positive momentum, the market still faces uncertainty. The ongoing legal battles, while progressing, have not fully resolved the regulatory status of XRP. Although recent court decisions have been favorable, the ultimate conclusion is still pending. Leaving room for volatility and skepticism, many retail investors remain cautious, waiting for clearer signs of sustained growth before committing capital. Meanwhile, the accumulation by whales and institutional players continues unabated, which really signals their strong belief in Ripple's long-term vision. Music for those holding XRP. Today, patience and conviction are key. History shows that major financial revolutions don't happen overnight. They unfold slowly, often under the radar, before culminating in explosive growth. The coming months and years will be critical as Ripple moves closer to its IPO, regulatory clarity, and broader institutional adoption. XRP holders who understand this bigger picture find themselves in a unique position to benefit from what may become one of the most significant shifts in global finance since the introduction of the internet. In summary, the leaked Ripple IPO documents reveal a massive strategic play that could catapult XRP to unprecedented heights. Institutional moves like Goldman Sachs buying billions of XRP, the sheer size of the cross-border payments market, Ripple targets, and Ripple's ongoing product innovations all point to a future where XRP is far more than just a speculative asset. The IPO launch in the next 90 days is a pivotal event, bringing transparency, legitimacy, and liquidity that could, really unlock XRP's true value while legal and market uncertainties remain. The foundation is being laid for XRP to become a core component of the global financial system. Whether you are an XRP holder, a crypto enthusiast, or a financial professional, this moment definitely